Let's get started!
Oh, would you look at that? The background's all set. Let's begin. Okay, here we go. Chapter 370. We have mutant discrimination. Nameless background character acting like he's hot shit. And drooling polka dot dinosaur person. But before we start, let me say a little something. There's something oddly funny about this chapter, seeing the mutants having these adorable fellow reptile flags and t-shirts, as well as treating Polka Dot Godzilla over here as their true leader. On the other hand, we are currently at 597 subs as we are making this video. Combine all the images here and it looks like everyone's going mad. Why is it not 600 yet? While I do appreciate everyone's support, but forcing heroes to sub to this channel is not the way to go. You guys are making me look bad. Okay, that's enough jokes. Let's get onto the manga. So for today's rant video we are gonna be focusing mostly on one thing. The sudden full-blown mutant discrimination out of nowhere. This really caught me off guard. For the longest time, mutant discrimination in MHA has always been just a relatively minor thing. With little snippets here and there, especially after the war arc, but generally almost non-existent. Hell, even groups such as the Creature Ejection Clan are the ones being rejected by society and being labeled as villains, so we know that mutant racism is not only rare, but also frowned upon. And then chapter 370 dropped. And the little discrimination snippets became a full-blown issue out of nowhere. Suddenly there's an entire army of mutants numbering around 15,000. And we are told that discrimination is still rampant in rural areas. And that no matter how many mutants are high up in the social ladder, it's still really bad. Not only that, there's also this irrelevant nameless background prop lore dumping about supposed mutant genocides that happened long ago. It's like everything is suddenly up to 11. To add to the mess, why are the mutants acting like fellow reptile is some mutant Jesus? The guy doesn't even have any notable achievements and is just a nobody tricked into becoming a leader. But apparently the posters are enough to convince mutants across the country to join the latest terrorist group that destroyed almost everything. Also there's 76 who suddenly dropped a conveniently similar backstory to fellow reptile, probably to make them better rivals. Never mind the fact that both haven't really interacted yet prior to this battle, and both are such minor characters with backstories revealed far too late for people to really care about them and their issues. As a whole, the chapter is one big total mess, easily one of the top 10 what the f chapters in the entire manga. Literally almost 90% of the new stuff that appeared here are not once referenced before, yet are casually dropped in with utter disregard to the overall world building. Literally out of nowhere there's suddenly 2 instances of attempted mutant genocide in the past, and apparently there's rampant mutant discrimination in rural areas. If both of these are supposed to be important as to become the major factor why there's a mutant army in the first place, then there should have been references to these in the earlier parts of the story. And not just awkwardly shoved into the final battle of the final arc. Not to mention the guy lore dumping everything as an irrelevant nameless prop, making the entire thing even more eye-roll and facepalm worthy. Seriously, what the f is this shit?
Who the fuck are you?
Now with all these piles of nonsense, you can tell the creator just made up the entire discrimination crap as an excuse to inflate the number of villains to ridiculous levels. This is the same way as back in chapter 364. Where the whole world turned upside down, and would rather simp for Handyman instead. Notice how both instances involved massive lack of logic and things that just popped out of nowhere, and both resulted in extra troops for the villains. But here comes a problem, how is this ever going to get resolved? This is not the same way as Marksman and the government assassin program where, while also unreferenced before, is already done before the story even started. It's also not the same way as the whole simping for Handyman thing, where it will obviously end once Handyman is inevitably defeated. This mutant racism thing is way bigger and way more serious. We are talking whole genocides that supposedly happened in the past, and if discrimination outside the big cities is apparently still rampant according to this chapter, then another one could happen again. But then again we are still in MHA, we are rushing to the end as fast as possible. Expect this whole discrimination issue to be solved easily with just a little bit of talking. Hell, the entire thing could just be your typical PLF propaganda, and is just an exaggerated version of an old story. And of course, don't forget the good old MHA classic. Deadline did it. I'm gonna make a guess, but I'm 99% sure Deadline had something to do with it, because he's the greatest scapegoat of MHA. Now before we end, I just want to say that even after all the bullshit that happened in this chapter, it's nice that we are finally moving away from Handaman and onto fellow Reptile. Now if only he can stop drooling at sexy Firestorm pics and actually start whooping ass. That would be nice. No, little person, your mom is ugly. Oh come on. The only reason Miss Mindlayer even has a boyfriend is because the guy's blind. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's blind.